Welcome back and thank you for staying with us. If you're just joining us, you're watching Daybreak on Trust TV. We'll be diving into a discussion segment where we'll be talking about good governance, an analysis of the midterm deliverables of President Tinubu's administration. So 2 years into his administration, President Bola Tinubu's tenure has been marked by bold policy initiatives, significant economic reforms, and a mix of public optimism and criticism. Since his inauguration on May 29, 2023, Tinubu's government has pursued an ambitious agenda centered on economic revitalization, security enhancement, and infrastructural development. However, his administration has faced considerable challenges, including rising inflation, currency volatility, and persistent security concerns. So this midterm review examines the key deliverables of President Tinubu's administration, assessing progress in critical sectors, such as economic reforms, where the implementation of fuel subsidy removal, and foreign exchange unification and tax policies. Next, security and stability efforts to combat terrorism, banditry, and communal conflicts. We have infrastructure and social investment, which is road, rail, and power projects, as well as social welfare programs. Next up, governance and institutional reforms, where we have anti-corruption measures and public sector efficiency. So by analyzing successes, setbacks, and public perception, this assessment provides a balanced evaluation of whether the Tinubu administration is on track to fulfill its promises to Nigerians. So joining us now in the studio is our first guest, Armstrong Ajanaku, Executive Director of the Grassroots Center for Rights and Civic Orientation, a leading voice on governance, civic engagement, and grassroots advocacy in Nigeria. Ajanaku's work focuses on ensuring policies truly serve the people. And we also have Honorable Destiny Enabulele, the lead director of the Cradle of Black Civilizations Initiative, is a renowned organization dedicated to advocacy, leadership accountability, and Africa's developmental progress. You're all welcome, gentlemen, to the Daybreak Show. We are glad to have you here.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right.
Good morning to Nigerians.
All right,
Nigerians.
thank you very much. Let's get right into it. As we all know, yesterday, May 29th, was 2 years, the anniversary of 2 years in office for President Bola Tinubu and all other cabinet members as well. But there were a couple of things that were highlighted then. So given the mixed reactions of those policies, especially like fuel subsidy removal and forex unification, how would you assess Tinubu's administration? Throwing this question to you, Mr. Armstrong. How would you assess Tinubu's administration's ability to communicate and mitigate the hardships of these reforms imposed on ordinary Nigerians, especially grassroots communities, due to the fact that a lot of Nigerians have brought, should I say, an outcry on the situation at hand in the country, hardships, inflations, especially food inflations. And with these reforms put in place and the president saying that there's a better tomorrow, you just have to hold on. What can you say about that?
All right. Thank you so much. And once again, good morning to Nigerians. I would like to also highlight the fact that this year makes it 26 years of uninterrupted democracy in Nigeria. And all we are focusing on is, has democracy delivered, has the president in his tenure delivered, and all of that. And for us as an organization, we want to do our analysis, and we have been analyzing it from the point of view of the baseline. What is the baseline? What has the president promised he would do? And then what has he done? And of course, what is the impact of some of the policies that he has implemented? So taking it from the baseline, I would say that the Renewed Hope agenda is big on lofty ideals, is big on poetry, on the fact that the president says, for instance, that he doesn't want to see any mother send a child to bed hungry. If you read page 1 to 2 of the Renewed Hope agenda, That's one of the policies he instituted. But we all have to come to terms with the fact that the very first policy that he enunciated, that he implemented on his very first day on the job, had a disruptive and dislocating effect, resulted in a situation in which Nigerians were not really prepared for the disruptions that happened. And of course, it all reverberated in issues like, price hikes and inflationary pressures. So the response to that, the fundamental question remains, has that response been commensurate to the scale that, the policy, or the scale of the disruption that the policy, and so from our point of view, and it's very important that in your question you mentioned communities, how they are faring and all of that. I would say that it has really been a difficult one. Nigerians are in pains in many communities, and of course, the president and his team would argue that we've put in place measures. We've given loan schemes. I was reading Daily Trust of today, and the Ministry of Information put out a bouquet of issues that they say are their interventions. But those interventions, are they able to measure up to the scale of the disruptions that have been created? And so that is where I think the conversation should begin, because we want to do the conversation in a data-driven way, not just to say, okay, they've not done anything, but to say what you have done, has it created the impact? And the other point to also emphasize is the participation of the Nigerian people in those communities in the design of these policies that are meant to mitigate these challenges. Has it been robust enough? So I think one area where the administration will score very low is in terms of citizen participation in the design and implementation of those policies. So how many citizens actually know about those policies? I'll give you an example. Yesterday, I was on the same panel with the Minister of Humanitarian Affairs, where he was saying around 75 million Nigerians had gotten conditional cash transfers. And I was really taken aback because no one knows about these programs. Yes, there may be programs they are implementing at the level of their ministry, but in terms of the critical mass of Nigerians understanding the impact of these programs, I think that has been one area where the administration has also scored very low in terms of that knowledge and awareness of whatever they are doing permeating, so that, because if that kind of information goes around and people in communities know it, you work with civil society to deliver, then there's a likelihood that the people will have a sense of hope that things would work in the future.
All right. Not to cut you short, I know you have a lot to say, but let me direct this to Honorable Destiny. I would like to hear his take similarly on this, because for the speech that was provided to people due to the fact that a live broadcast was not gotten, even a recorded broadcast was not gotten of the speech from the president. He said in his speech that inflation has begun to ease with, food prices, especially rice, have begun to decrease. In relation to, all that has been happening, all that's been experienced by the Nigerians, the rise in inflation, extreme rise of inflation, has it started translating to that? And then is it that Nigerians are not patient enough for those policies put in place, to take effect?
Well, let me again appreciate Trust for this opportunity to again lend my voice as issues involved in this country. I think my friend here has made a very salient foundation to the issue at hand. We must call a spade a spade. It's never a garden fork. Since the inception of this present administration, yes, indeed, there have been some movement. But you ask me, is the movement forward or backward? Whether it's backward or forward, it's movement. But I must tell you for free that what they inherited, when I say they, the APC administration, if you flash back to Obasanjo Yaradua, Jonathan, if I'm not mistaken, the Nigeria economy at the time was first in the continent, the largest economy. Flashback. Then our result was oscillating between $595 billion or thereabout. But as we speak very just now, the reverse is the case. I have never seen a leader without putting on, mechanism that will address the negative effect of your policy. And all of a sudden, your first day, or rather your first hour in office, is to say the first subsidy is gone. That's why we are here. And as we speak very just now, the dividends of the first subsidy is gone. We can't, it's not anywhere. Maybe my friend must have seen in this community, but from the community I is from, there's nothing like that. There are no, visibility of this government in my local government, in my state to be very precise.
So you're saying the people are not feeling?
They are not feeling anything. What they are feeling is the negative effect of their policies. The policies from assault and what have you. That's what they are. That is what is ravaging every nook and cranny of this country, length and breadth. So for us, it is time for us to speak. A thief is a thief. Not this issue of bringing up corruption. A man that steals is a thief. So for us, we must go back to the drawing board. As we speak very just now, I must be very frank. Name any of the sector that is working. Is it the security? Is it the so-called loan for students that find their ways in the private pockets of politicians? You heard some of the findings not too long ago. Is it the cash transfer you're talking? So for me, I'm seeing it at times when I listen to news. I really go through the social media and I say, okay, this thing is existing. It's nowhere. Things in the market now, as we speak very just now, you can't go near it. A single salary cannot take you to your bus stop anymore. Although one of the ministers some time ago advised us that a single job cannot give the necessary meal to a family. That we need to look for elsewhere to be able to address the effect of their maladministration. It is quite sad and disheartening that we have gotten to this level. This is a man that some of us thought that yes, he has been over time since 1999 as a governor of Lagos State, that have over time studied the Nigeria, even before that as a senator during the Abiola and Sani Abacha era. As a senator, perhaps he must have studied. We believe that okay, you're bringing the wealth of experience to better the lives of the people. What is the essence of governance? It is welfare and security. As we speak very just now, do we have the security? About a few days ago, not too far from here, FAB or one of the estates, there was issue of kidnapping in the heart of Abuja. Not to talk of other states that are not privileged to have the security that they have here in Abuja.
All right.
So for me, there is movement, but I don't know whether they are moving forward.
All right. Before we come back to the issue of security and stability, let's touch a bit on the tax reforms, tax policy that we've been having a rave about. During his speech, or with the speech provided, I would say, Mr. Armstrong, this question would be thrown to you. The president said the GDP ratio, the tax to GDP ratio has rose from 10% to over 13%. And with the tax reforms put in place, it will protect low-income households and support workers by expanding their disposable incomes. So it will, directly impact households and reduce household costs further, and it will provide a 0% of VAT, that is value added tax. So what do you think about that, and will that have an impact, or will it go through, and will it trickle down to the grassroots? Because at the end of the day, the most important thing is the everyday Nigerian to feel the effects, positive effects of those changes, of those reforms.
Yes, thank you so much. So when you look at the entire gamut of the tax reform and the whole debate that has gone into it, as a matter of fact, now the House of Reps has actually, the committee has harmonized, and there's a lot of movement, forward movement in that regard. But the question is, what are the contextual issues around which the tax reform is being framed? And are you taxing or are you reforming the tax system in an economy that is productive, in an economy that, you are creating wealth? Or are you really taxing poverty or reforming to tax poverty? And when you also, put that side by side with the escalating cost of essential services, you look at a service like electricity, for example, which is critical as an input for the production of goods and services. And, when I discuss these things, I like to give practical examples. My office is in Gwarimpa, where there's a restaurant nearby that I patronize from time to time. The last time I went there, the electricity company had brought a power surge that destroyed the lady's business. All the freezers were destroyed because of the power surge that came. And that lady had to start fixing all of those things by herself. In fact, she had to lobby and pay for the electricity company to come and rectify the issue that was there with the transformer. So when you are taxing in an environment like this, and I've seen even at the subnational level, a lot of tax collection going on, tax drive going on, but you are taxing people who are not having the required business environment to create the wealth, to produce the wealth. And so if that is the context of taxation, then it becomes problematic, even though I would say, okay, reform of the tax system to make it fair, to make it just, and to make it a lot more equitable is fine, but taxation without a commensurate arrangement of the economy in a way that people can do business and create wealth becomes like you are taking the lifeblood of the people. And that is why you see that there's again a lot of apathy in terms of grassroots connection to this issue. So if you go to a local community, for example, and you ask somebody about the tax reform, they don't give a damn about it, because essentially that is not what they are looking at the moment. They are looking at their own daily survival. And I believe that this is something that should play a very significant role in when they eventually pass the tax reform. They should look at this area. And good enough, even in the reform, they also talked about the fact that there are some people that, if you are earning like 800,000 below, you are not going to be within the tax net. But how about the multiple taxations that other subnational governments are also collecting from the people? Levies, market women pay levies and things. So those are a number of the things that this administration should harmonize. It's not only a federal government problem, it's a problem of all the three tiers of government. And the president has to not just create a framework at the federal level, also to ensure that at the state and the local government level, there is a harmonization of some of these taxes. Having said that, I think the other critical point when it comes to tax reform is, like I mentioned, the services. Okay, let's take a look at what's it called, the telecoms, for example. The telecoms, where the cost of data has also gone up, the cost of making calls has also gone up. So if you are saying you are reforming the tax system in a way that is just and equitable, and then other costs for the citizens are escalating, the cost of doing business is escalating, then there will be no real basis for for people to create jobs, because they're already overwhelmed with the cost. And of course, that would also contribute to the high inflation that we are complaining about. But I believe that it is not all gloom. There is also a window for citizens to get their voices heard in these processes, and which is why for us as a center, we don't want to agonize endlessly. We want to be able to also create fora for some of these things to be discussed, and also ensure that citizens get their voices in the discussion.
Absolutely. All right, Honorable Destiny, I'd like to throw this to you. When it comes to infrastructure and social investment, there have been different projects, roads, rail and power projects, as well as social welfare programs. Do you believe that those projects are really in Nigeria's interest, in Nigerians' interest, and then those social welfare programs that have been put in place, just like the Nelfund Fund to students, university students, in helping them pay their fees. Are they going to trickle down to the people and do the needful, do what it's supposed to?
It's quite, it is laughable. I think my friend said something just now. Let me try to start from there. The issue of the tax reform and here and there, that indeed they are moving forward. But again, in another breath, he said something that the environment that you are doing business, the banking sector, they are doing their own deductions, left, right, center. The telecommunication, so it's something to write him about. So when he's saying that the tax reform, they are moving forward, I'm a little bit taken aback. Well, that is for that. The issue of the infrastructure, let me quickly say this, and the other side, permit me to use the side also of the government, because some, they have alluded to the fact that the present dispensation, that governance is dancing naked in a marketplace. But I don't know how true. I'm doing my research to truly look at the indices. That is, if truly the governance in this administration is dancing naked in the marketplace. They have every reason to say so. In the true light of your administration, barely 2 years in office, about a year, 6 months, you have started campaigning for another 4 years. I tell you for free, there's no governance. As we speak very just now, governance is comatose in Nigeria, with utmost humility and simplicity. The issue of infrastructure we talked about, for me, I cannot pinpoint any infrastructure. It's not only Abuja that is Nigeria, or the one that is running from Lagos to Calabar. As we speak, that's another elephant project. I listened to Obasanjo not too long ago. Said if you are embarking on an election year, you come up with an elephant project so that you can use that pipe as a conduit pipe to finance your electionary campaign. I think that is for that. I won't want to go further. You see, the issue of the loan, the student loan, you heard, you are a journalist. What happened? Some of the revelations that is setting amount. I wouldn't want to go into all that. That have find itself in the pockets of some private individuals. Are you not saying that scheme is truly for the downtrodden? Your guess is as good as mine. So for me, with utmost humility, I don't want to be a prophet of doom, or I don't want to, according to my friend, to agonize endlessly. For me, I don't see anything presently. I said it earlier. I said we are moving, but I cannot tell you whether we are moving forward. But you should be able to know whether we are moving to the left or to the right or to the back. But say we are moving forward, that I can't say. With utmost humility, I have looked at it, left, right, center. I'm a civil society person before I accidentally find myself in politics and all of that. But I have seen it. We are better off before this present administration. We are better off with utmost humility. Look at the dollar exchange rate.
All right.
Children, I remember I ran a program some time ago in Scotland, and the dollar naira exchange, it was a little bit. Look at it now. I tried to do a program about a few months ago. My sister, it wasn't friendly.
All right.
It wasn't friendly.
Yeah.
So we must look at it. Nigeria, we must speak out. We are not saying that leadership is all bread and tea. No, we are not saying it. But we must put on the taking cap. Use the right people to drive your process. Not going to get tribesmen or your area boys to come and preside where they don't have the knowledge.
All right.
Can I just jump in, because he made very important points which I think require some interrogation, because like I was making the point about agonizing, moving from agonizing to organizing, and I'm glad that he's a civil society person, and we are all in the civil society space, and we must speak truth to power. But in speaking truth to power, we must be data-driven in our approach. And in being data-driven, I want to avoid blanket analysis in which you want to say absolutely, there's nothing on the ground, and then public funds are being spent. As we speak, I mentioned yesterday that the minister said 75 million Nigerians. Our role as civil society is not just to say nothing is on the ground, it's to go and check. is to go and do a research. In fact, my organization has now decided that part of what we're going to do, even if it's in 2 states, we are going to go to the communities. We're going to deploy monitors to the communities to ask the beneficiaries of those programs to know if those programs are actually getting there. Now, the point I also made about the forward movement in tax reform. Of course, we need legislation to address some of these fundamental issues. So if the National Assembly is in the process of passing a legislation, as civil society, we should be engaged. We should be involved. If there are provisions there that do not augur well for the people, we should be able to point those things out and not just say that, okay, nothing is happening. Meanwhile, people are taking decisions on our behalf. People are taking steps on our behalf. They are spending monies. And those monies are the monies of the Nigerian people. So this is where I differ a bit in saying that let's analyze with a lot more nuance. Let it be a lot more nuanced analysis. And I am sure you're going to come to security. There are some details, even in security, that we have to analyze with nuance. Why is it? Yes, why is it that?
Well, unfortunately, in as much as I would like to touch on security, time is not on our side.
But we'll have an opportunity to say a last word, right?
Well, I don't believe that we do. We would have to wrap up quickly due to the fact that we can never have enough time to talk about what bedevils Nigeria, especially with the present issue of insecurity and its state in the country. But unfortunately, we will have to come to the end of this segment. Thank you very much, Mr. Armstrong. Thank you very much, Honorable Destiny, for being here, for giving us your contributions. To be honest, it was enlightening, and I would have wished that it was there was more time than this. Thank you for staying with us. Make sure you continue to be with us. We'll be going on a quick break. Make sure you stay tuned for the next segment.